All righty, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Red, White, Claret, and Blue Show with your hosts, myself, Alex Baquero, and Christopher Jenna Ortega Condit, because it is Wednesday, your American villain voices, and as always, serving up the lukewarmiest of lukewarm opinions. Everybody, please go follow, like, rate, review, check out everywhere we are below my face. And if you cannot see my face, then go on YouTube and check out my face because, well, it's kind of scruffy right now, but usually it looks pretty good. You don't need to look at Chris's.
My
Chris,
face is always scruffy.
how are you doing on this lovely Wednesday day, Wednesday evening? I was going to actually see if you figured out the Jenna Ortega thing, but I think that's not your fault.
I would not have, I don't think. Although I do watch that show. I haven't watched the new season yet, but yeah, I that one. I was trying to think of what you were going for there, but I'm doing great. I had a great trip to Hartford, Connecticut, for business, and glad to be back in North Carolina. How are you, Alex?
Doing good, man. It's been a busy week, a lot of meetings, but had a couple nice coffee chats. I was at happy hour today. It's my birthday tomorrow. So, we got a good weekend ahead of us. Couple good friends coming down to visit. So
Way to
it's gonna
drop
be
that in, by the way. Way to drop that in. That was nice.
well, you haven't said anything about it or what you're getting me yet. So
Why?
I kind of
Why would I have brought that up? I didn't know if you want that on the podcast or not. I'm not out here telling your business.
You haven't texted me.
What? It's not your birthday yet.
Could have told me that you were planning something. This is I get it. It's a surprise.
Are we having a public fight right now?
We might be. Yeah. This is the start of our meltdown. Our mic meltdown.
because you celebrate a birthday week and I don't.
Yeah.
You birthday week guy.
Yeah, pretty much. I want gifts. Give me things. It'll be a great gift, Chris. Wow,
What's
that?
That?
Kind of weirdly alliterative. A Villa win on Saturday morning against Brentford. That would be a great gift. So let's talk about it. Villa are away at Brentford in London, where Unai Emery is master of the city. Saturday, 10 a.m. Last time out, we won 1-0, and actually we don't really ever lose to Brentford all that much since we've come up. They've been happy ground for us. It was more difficult than our first game against them, where we just eviscerated them, and that probably was because at least last year they were much better at home. For a while, they were one of the best home forms in the league, while they were god awful relegation form away. This year, at least based on last week, they are trash. And I think, if you are a Brentford fan, sorry, Will BG, friend from college who was a Brentford fan or is a Brentford fan, he does still exist. They've lost everyone. They're managed by a former set piece coach, Embuemo, Damsgaard, Frank, whole backroom staff. And Wissa appears to be out the door going to Newcastle. Thank God we didn't need to face him last week. Mm-hmm. It showed against Forest, man. And especially you look at Sunderland and Leeds winning their first games, probably part of the teams that we expect to go down. If you're Brentford, I mean, are you a little nervous already?
I don't know about nervous already, but that's certainly not a good showing. And Forest are in Europe this year, and I think everyone expects them to be top half. But to get taken apart like that in week one is never good. And I guess if I can only draw on some experience here, I would only point out that Aston Villa a couple of years ago got absolutely eviscerated by Newcastle. Everybody but Fergie thought that it was, an evisceration. Fergie thought Villa were the better side and just happened to lose 4-1. And Villa rebounded and came back. But I just don't see, looking at the lineup, looking at the squad, I don't see the talent there that they've had before. And I think even more than that, even more than the players that they lost, losing Thomas Frank and the entire staff is a bigger issue, I think, because you've got inexperienced people in positions now, where like Keith Andrews, you mentioned already, he was was the set piece coach last year. And so that's a big step up. I'm not saying it's impossible, and that you have to have managerial experience to be a successful manager, but I think it certainly helps. And I think that for his first managerial position to be in the Premier League is a pretty big welcome to the show type moment. And I think that the team looked like it was his first time out over the last weekend.
Yeah. I mean, you compare it to Villa getting eviscerated by Newcastle. I would say the difference is Newcastle were not expected to be a mid-table team that year. And even with the 5-1 loss, I don't think anyone was saying that Villa were relegation fodder, because there was continuity with the manager, with the lineup. There were exciting new additions, all that kind of stuff. Brentford are in a different boat where they've lost everyone, and they haven't necessarily reinvested it in players that you feel super confident about, not in a race the way that Villa were for Moussa Diaby, for example, someone that everybody seemed to want. The other thing, though, that I will give them credit for is that I think everybody knows Brentford are one of the most, if not the most savvily run outfit in the Premier League. Very data oriented, very much punching above their weights in terms of budgets and revenue and all that kind of stuff to contribute to compete in the top half the way they have for as long as they have. So if I'm a Brentford fan, what I'm looking at is the fact that if they chose Keith Andrews, it was for a reason. It was something about what he knew, however he kind of described his philosophy that jived with the analytics that they had and all that kind of stuff. And so you have to hope that this continued desire to promote from within is indicative that there will be some sort of safety there. The other thing that you have going for you is surprise. Now, they did not surprise Nottingham Forest on Saturday, but I certainly tried to do my research, and I could not find anything on Keith Andrews' managerial philosophy. Is he going to keep doing the same things that Thomas Frank did, or does he have his own perspective, his own little wrinkle that he's going to bring? And so maybe they'll be able to catch enough teams by surprise. But at least on the basis of last week, I'm not super confident in that. There aren't a ton of players that I'm like, oh, we need to watch out for that guy, especially if Wissa goes. The only one that I'll call out is my pick for last year's quote unquote best newcomer in Fabio Carvalho, who was unavailable for 13 games last year due to injury. He got the start on the wing against Forest. Didn't do a ton, but maybe I'm a year late on that prediction.
Maybe so. And I agree with you. Like, looking through the lineup that they played on Saturday, it's tough to know what exactly they're going to do, especially since like their remaining best player looks like he's going out the door now too. And he didn't play Saturday either, but it's tough to, there's nobody out there, like you said, that you say, that's the guy we got to shut down, or that's the guy we got to look out for. This is where I feel like they're dangerous, because frankly, in the game the pieces of the game that I watched against Forest, nothing looked all that great for them, for Brentford. And that's not to say they can't come in and play much better and surprise us all. So I don't want it to come off like I think this is going to be an easy win for Aston Villa, because as we've said many, many times on this podcast, I don't think there are any easy wins out there in the Premier League. And this season, at least in the first week, that looks like that's going to hold very true this season, except for maybe Burnley. Sorry, Burnley. Sorry, I'm laughing.
Burnley is secretly Chris's least favorite team, I think, in the entire English pyramid, and that's saying something more than Arsenal, because Chris just despises despises JJ Watt for some reason that I don't fully understand. And
We'll
so
get to that. We'll
any
get to that another
affiliation
time.
with Burnley, he cannot wait to rip on them. And keep them
I
going.
don't. I said sorry, Burnley, and we can talk about my dislike of JJ Watt at another time because there's only so much time left in the day here. But so I guess I would approach this more from what is Aston Villa going to do, and I think that this is a game where they need to really try to assert themselves and try to assert a strong philosophy, particularly in attack. So I'm interested in how you think that Unai Emery is going to set the team up, because I think that's the biggest question right now. I know we have to talk about replacing Ezri Konsa on suspension, but in attack, what changes do you make, Alex, if you're running the show here?
You need a win. And you need to make the changes that are going to get you 3 points here. We have spoken in the past, and we're going to keep speaking about how Villa need a fast start this year. 5 games, need 12, 13 points out of those because the schedule gets very difficult very quickly after that. And this, at least right now, to kick someone while they're down before they kind of get up to speed, learn his philosophy, you got to take advantage of ones like this. So, as a long way of getting to a point where I can answer your question, John McGinn is coming to the bench for me. Daniel Mallon is getting in there on the right wing. And at the same time, I'm bringing Amadou Onana out, moving Yori back, and getting Morgan Rogers in the middle. I'll get to my left wing in a moment. So for my full lineup, I suppose, and I'm curious if there's anything you'll change. I have Emi Martinez back in goal. As good as Marco played, I don't think that you take Emi Martinez out for any extended period of time. Matt Cash still starts for me at right back. I have Bogard starting at right center back. I said in our pod earlier this week that I feel like you can't put Boubacar Kamara there due to both his midfielder instincts, and also then you're removing maybe your most important player from where he is most effective. So I have Bogard starting with Tyrone Mings in center back. I think that there is a little bit more surety there to balance Bogard than Pau Torres maybe brings. I have Ian Maatsen starting at left back, someone else who is a bit more dynamic and pacey, who can create a little bit of havoc there for the Brentford defense. I said Kamara and Yori at the central midfield positions. And then across my front line, I have Daniel Mallon, Morgan Rogers, and I actually would love to see Emi Buendia come in and have him pick apart the defense a little bit. I don't think that's going to happen. I think John McGinn gets moved across the formation to the left side, and then we probably see an early hook for him to bring in Evan Gasson around like 60, 65 minutes. And then up top, I have Ollie Watkins.
Yep. So mostly the same, but I did put, I should say, Pau Torres in instead of Tyrone Mings, but I totally understand your thinking in terms of why the boss may stick with Mings. I think he'll go with Pau because of Pau Torres' ability to command that back line in attack and be the start. When the ball comes out from the back, he's really the engine that starts that most of the time. So I think that's why. I think in a game where we feel like, and I'm sure Unai Emery feels like we can really, impose our will, we put our best player in attack out there to do it, even from the back. That was my thinking there. Now, I do have Luka Dean out left, and the biggest reason for that is because Unai Emery seems to trust him a great deal, and I think that this could potentially be a good spot for Maatsen. I'm not suggesting that you're going to be wrong necessarily, but I think that if you bet on Luka Dean starting 4 times out of 5, you're probably going to be right.
Sure.
With Unai Emery. The other thing that I agree with you all the way up through. I also had Rodgers in the middle, Mullen out to the right. And then I have McGinn as the left wing as well, but I also penciled in Gasson as an early sub because I think that this is going to be a great game to get him started. And like we've talked about before, I just don't see Unai Emery taking McGinn off the pitch yet in terms of taking him out of the starting 11. Obviously, Ollie Watkins up top. And I think that lineup could be dynamic enough to win and score. My concern is the same that we talked about in our last pod is width. We have a bunch of guys that like to get narrow, and I don't know how we fix that given the personnel that we have, because we have guys that all want to come inside. Even if you were to move Morgan Rodgers out and put Emi Buendia in at the 10 or something like that, you're still Morgan Rodgers is going to be trying to come inside just like that. And you've got two guys occupying that space. So somebody has to stay well wide. And I don't know how they're going to set it up, because typically it's been Leon Bailey that stays wide right and balances the formation. But without that, it's going to take a lot of work, I think, from either Mullen or Gasson on either side to try and keep that formation balanced, because that's my primary concern, is that it's going to get very narrow. It's going to get easy to defend. And Ollie Watkins, when the formation narrows, Ollie Watkins always ends up on an island by himself. It seems to happen every single time.
Yeah. There are a few things that you can do tactically, and none of them are all that appealing to me. One is that you have Kamara drop in to form a back three, and that allows Matty Cash to get a little bit higher and wider, and he provides your width. I've said before, I like Kamara on the half turn. I like his ability to drive through midfield. So that kind of neuters one of our best escapes. And I think that when you play a team that wants to attack and counter quickly, we've also run into issues where when he drops into the back line and they come at space at just Yori Tielemans in the middle, he can't step forward quickly enough to intercept, and we've had problems going the other way. That's another reason why I like Ian Maatsen, though, because he's got that space, that pace to create space on the left wing, get some balls in over the top. The only other thing that I'll add to further reinforce my Tyrone Mings choice is that Brentford striker, who didn't play a ton last year, Igor Thiago, 6'2", 187, big physical presence, tried to rough up Murillo a little bit over the weekend. Didn't work because Murillo's a freaking tank. But, that might be another reason where, especially if you've got Bogard at the right center back, who is not as imposing as Ezri Konsa, you might want Tyrone Mings to balance that out a little bit.
That's a really good call. I do want to ask you, how concerned are you? I know we talked about it in the last podcast, but how concerned are you about Ezri Konsa not being available and replacing him with Bogard? And then beyond that, if there's an issue and somebody goes down, we are really screwed, in my opinion, here. We have no depth at that right center back now. And I don't know what you do other than go to a back three or tuck somebody in who doesn't belong there or something like that. That's all you can do. So your level of concern, 1 to 10, on Bogard or whoever replacing Ezri Konsa, and how that affects this game.
8? It's pretty high.
Yeah.
I don't. Bogard could turn out to be a fantastic player, and Unai Emery clearly sees something in him. There's a reason why he's still in the squad, and so I'm in no position, as smart as I think I am, to doubt Unai Emery, but I haven't seen it yet. And he's younger, he's smaller, and so if I'm Brentford, I'm telling Thiago, stay away from Tyrone Mings or even Pau Torres to that degree, and you get on this 18-year-old and you bully the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And so I think that there are a lot of, we'll see how he acclimates, I suppose. Now, to your point about what happens if he goes down, the issues can really compound through the team for a couple different ways. At that point, your options are either move Kamara out from where he's most effective to play right center back. And so what does that do to your midfield? Onana comes in, McGinn is playing central defensive midfield, and none of those are as good as Boubacar Kamara. Or you're bringing in Pau Torres or Tyrone Mings to play on their weak foot and really inhibiting your ability to play out of the back and build up the way that Unai Emery wants you to do. The other added factor, psychologically speaking, if Bogard does start, or if Bogard then goes down and Kamara starts as the third choice right center back, what are you thinking if you're Pau Torres? What's that doing to his mental space that he can't get in over an 18-year-old or a guy who this isn't even his natural position? You're probably going to say, well, you tell him you're not a right-footed center back. Like, sorry, you can't play over there. But I think you have to acknowledge the human element there and say that no matter what, that still would have to eat at him.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's, I mean, we're throwing out a hypothetical there, but it is a legitimate concern if somebody goes down over there. We're very, very thin now. So yeah, but I agree. I think that you're absolutely right. Well, we both picked Bogard to start. I think that they're going to target Bogard because regardless of who starts to his left, it's going to be a much more experienced and better player than Bogard currently is. And so you're going to be relying on Bogard to do, I think, quite a bit here. And he'll need some help.
And by the way, let me clarify. Targeting Bogard means targeting Bogard offensively and defensively. No matter who plays at that right center back, if I'm Brentford, I am structuring my press to try and funnel the ball to that right center back and then closing on him quickly. Because whether it's Bogard, whether it's Tyrone Mings playing on his non-dominant foot, that's where you can create turnovers issues and create some opportunities for yourself going the other way. And if you're Brentford and you know that Aston Villa has all these capable attackers that are ready to go at you, that's where you try and win the game. So I would say the most pivotal position for the match on Saturday is going to be our right center back and how they cope with that pressure.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think that's a really good point. Yeah. It's definitely the biggest area of concern for me going into this game. And I think rightly so.
So that being said, what's your prediction?
I have it at 2-1 Aston Villa. How about you?
I have it at 2-0 Aston Villa.
Keeping the clean sheets going. Let's go.
As worried as I am about Bogard, Brentford never really threatened Forest all that much and needed a penalty to get their one goal. I think they're still adapting to whatever Keith Andrews wants them to do. And so I expect Villa, even if we do play narrowly, to be able to maintain a good bit of the ball, keep Brentford at arm's length, and hopefully by keeping it often in their half of the field, we don't necessarily need to worry as much about the defending going the other way. So I'll even say Ollie Watkins is going to get off and running in this one and get his first. I'm not sure who's going to get the second. I'll say Watkins and Mullen are going to get
former B Ollie Watkins. I might point out. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So we're right there. We're both in the same spot. The only reason I suggested a goal for Brentford is because of the defensive substitution that Villa is going to be forced to make.
That's fair.
And it's just we're just guessing here, really. We don't actually know, right? But I think both of us obviously see a win here, and for good reason. Villa are the better side. The question is going to be whether or not they execute.
Yep. Agreed. Chris, anything else that you want to add on this one?
I don't think so. Quick little preview pod. It's been a good one, I think.
All right. Well, look forward to Saturday morning. Hopefully I get my birthday gift from Villa, if not from you. But until then, my friend, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Hi, Mom and Dad.